Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here, and it's time for me to update you on my thoughts about Asteroid City. I saw this movie at Cannes. I wasn't that big of a fan, and I gave it a 5 out of 10. Since then, I've been kind of interested and curious to know why people really dug this more than me. So I've been reading rave reviews and reading analyses, and I started to open up to the idea that maybe I judged this one too harshly, and so I went for a rewatch. And while I wouldn't say I've done a complete 180 on my opinion, I do think I was too dismissive of certain parts of the movie. I would still describe the movie as being kind of messy, and I feel conflicted on the stiffness of the characters, even though I can kind of see where that is the point at parts. But the part I think I didn't appreciate enough was the framing device. Wrapping the story within a play, within a TV production, kind of is the essence of the movie. I remember my first viewing, I felt kind of annoyed whenever they would cut back to it, but this time I went in more open, trying to really understand the intention of it, and I think that the movie does actually get at something pretty profound about art and its ability to speak to those who are creating it, even when, and maybe even especially when, they don't even understand what exactly it is that they're creating. And I'm going to talk about the movie without regard to spoilers from now on. The writer in the movie doesn't understand what he's writing, the actor doesn't understand the character he's playing, and the character he's playing doesn't even understand his own grief. But as Jason Schwartzman's character says, his pictures always come out, which I think is Wes Anderson saying that as long as you create something that honestly comes out of you, no matter how confusing or strange it is, the beauty in what you're trying to make will find its way to sprout out. I think it's saying that there's something beautiful in making a piece of art that doesn't make sense, because perhaps that reflects what is mysterious or confusing about life itself. And this movie is about a stargazer convention in which these brainy weirdo children are more fascinated with outer space and the beyond, and very awkward at navigating life on the ground. The movie's trying to capture this feeling that to an extent we are all just actors in our own lives, reading lines that we don't understand, playing parts that we don't even fully get. But this movie's trying to comfort us and say, even if you don't understand what you're doing in this life, you're doing it right. You just have to trust that you're doing it right. The aliens' arrival is this great mysterious event that launches everybody into an existential crisis if they're not already having one. And I feel like it's a little stiff the way that the movie's like, well, they saw an alien, so now they are questioning everything. But you know, there are also aspects to the aliens' arrival, like the fact that the alien looks confused and doesn't even seem to understand what they're doing, and the unanswered question of why the alien took the asteroid. And in a way, maybe a lot of the characters in this movie feel themselves like they are aliens. You know, I do still feel kind of conflicted about how much the movie feels like it's just telling me what its message is rather than giving me characters who I can connect with and understand that experience through them. Although the movie's definitely not doing that second part. I actually do like Jason Schwartzman's character more. Both characters, I guess you could say. And the scene with Margot Robbie where he's almost communicating with his character's deceased wife does have kind of a beauty to it. The more I think about it, the more the layers in this movie actually do connect thematically. There still is a point where the movie loses me towards the end a bit, and really the peak of that is just when everybody's chanting, "You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep." And I still don't like that at all. And I don't like how when they're chanting, Jeff Goldblum as the alien just starts coming and walking towards the camera. It's just like, I don't know, it's just too bizarre for no reason. And I still also feel conflicted about Woodrow's character and how little he is actually grieving. And I know that he's a character playing a character, and you can maybe excuse it and be like, well, the character's not supposed to be like a human because he's an actor playing an actor. But I feel like we are supposed to kind of care about them and invest in the story as if they're real people to an extent. I don't really buy that a young teenager has that same grief repression mechanism developed that his father and Scarlett Johansson have developed, where when he finds out that his mother dies, he's just like, kind of sad. And there's like a tear on his cheek, and I'm like, they dropped that tear there. Like, I just don't believe that. So I'm still conflicted on how much the movie, like, emotionally resonates with me, I guess. But I do think that, like, the message and what it's going for is actually pretty interesting. And I kind of have to appreciate the bold swing of this movie coming from Wes Anderson at this point in his career. And you know, even with my initial negative reaction towards this movie, I would never have said that Wes Anderson is a filmmaker who's just parodying himself at this point. There's been a lot of movies lately where filmmakers are examining like what compels them to make the art that they make. And it's been a recent trend that a lot of people are even noticing and getting tired of sometimes. You got movies like The Fabelmans and Nope, Babylon, Empire of Light, Bardo, even Close Your Eyes at Cannes this year. And although some people don't like this trend. What else can we expect from filmmakers when we're asking them to be honest and tell stories about their experiences? Like, if you're an artist who's been working for decades, that's like what you've been living. And so for somebody to tell that experience kind of only feels natural. And that's also why I don't really like when people call movies like Bardo or The Fabelmans self-indulgent, or even Beau is Afraid. I usually like never call movies self-indulgent because I kind of feel like all art is to an extent, and that's okay. Maybe it was the pandemic that got everybody all self-reflexive, but Wes Anderson seems to be yet another filmmaker who is trying to examine the act of creating art. I have also read recent comments on my review that say like, I totally agree with you, like this is exactly how I felt coming out of the movie. So I'm not gonna say that like my first viewing was invalid, and a lot of those feelings did carry over to this one, but you know, I think it was worth revisiting. So I would say my rating for this one has gone up to a 7 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Have you ever changed your mind?